Welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to look at what is Linux. So the first question we are trying to ask is what is and what is not Linux? To simply put it this way, Linux is just a kernel, not a fully operating system. But before we understand or before we dig deeper, we have to go to the history of Linux. So going back in history, in 1983, GNU project did something really cool, which is their goal was to create a free software plus tools which is Unix-like. In order for you to understand what is Unix, please do a quick Google search. In short, it is another operating system that pre-existed before Linux GNU. Now, coming to 1991, there's this really cool guy named Linus. And what he did was he created the Linux kernel as we speak today, way back in 1991. And after that, in 1992, GNU plus Linux, developers looked at this and thought, man, we could make a fully usable operating system. Together, we call the operating system as GNU Linux Free Operating System. In the video, a few moments ago, I might have said Linux is just the kernel. Well, starting technology, I never really had proper understanding of what exactly is a kernel. In order to make sense, we need to look at how a system works. There are kind of three spaces in a system, and they are hardware. For instance, you have your computer. It has CPU, RAM, and storage. This section is called the hardware section or the hardware land. And on top of that is where your operating system lives, and kernel is called the core of the operating system. On top of that is what's called Userland. This is where you, the user, and your apps live and operate. For instance, the app in the Userland wants to talk to the hardware. It cannot go directly all the way to the hardware and talk directly. It does not happen like that. Rather, Userland needs to communicate to kernel space communicates to hardware, and vice versa. Imagine you're using your computer and you're using your text editor. Let's say you completed your text editing and you wanted to save. You clicked on save. What happens? Application in the Userland cannot directly talk to the hardware of the system. Rather, it needs to talk to the kernel through something called system calls. Now, going back to the example, so the app talks to the kernel goes, all right, I will do the job for you, and the kernel talks to the hardware, gets the process done, that, hey, the kernel did the job, and the app gets the confirmation. Looking at this teeny tiny example, we're going to use the engine car example. Imagine you have an engine that is of no use unless you have a car, or if you have a car, your car is of no use if it does not have an engine. The same goes with the operating system. The kernel is like the engine of the car, and the body is like the rest of the software plus tools that sit on top. With both the engine and the body, you get a full-fledged car. Just like that, with the kernel and the rest of the software plus tools, you get a fully functioning operating system. And there's so many different distributions, operating systems in the market. Now, coming to the distributions of operating systems that we have in the Linux market, we have two popular, Debian-based and Red Hat-based. You might have heard about Ubuntu, that is one example. Coming to Red Hat-based, you have Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system, and you also have one other famous one. This example is Fedora. So to really conclude the video, we have looked at what is Linux. We concluded that it's a kernel, and after that we looked at the history of Linux and GNU, and how they came about to be a fully functioning operating system. And after that we looked at kernel space, user space, hardware space, and after that we tried to make sense of the distributions by using an example, which is the car engine plus the body example. So in short, that is the conclusion of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you find anything conflicting with regard to the information, please do comment so that I can go back into the video and make corrections or learn more. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you found something of value, please like and share. Thank you very much.